It's an estate sale find of a lifetime. A collector went to an estate sale and found a box of sports cards for sale. He paid $300 for them. And when he got home and looked inside the box, he realized he had $7,000, including some of the most awesome cards you will see. But does the buyer have an ethical responsibility to alert the seller what was inside the box? We're going to tell you the full story and debate now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. Teapot Doug, it's looking a little spooky in here. Halloween right around the corner. By the way, I got a full-on Pikachu suit for Halloween. What are you dressing as?
I've been talking about this for years.
I got one.
I said you should go to Comic-Con as Pikachu, or you're doing it.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
I'll see you next. Do you guys have anything? What do you got? You coming as like
I will not
a bald baseball player, a bald shortstop?
Maybe I will. But yeah, I'll be Bill Burr swearing at you in the corner. No, I don't know.
I like it. All right. Well, we'll bring that cheer next week. But today, guys, we've got to talk about this crazy story to start the show. So this came from Reddit. A Reddit user, Inevitable End, went to an estate sale. And at the estate sale, the seller had a box out of sports cards of presumably the person who, passed away. And the person inquired about it. The seller didn't know anything about it. They just said, I want $300 for the box, cash, didn't know anything about it. Apparently there were a lot of cards in the box. So the buyer looked at it maybe a little bit, but didn't really fully understand what was inside this big box of cards. They're a collector. They paid over the $300, took the cards home and said, well, this will be fun. And then when they got home, they opened the box and started going through it. And among the cards they found included a 2011 Upper Deck Exquisite Michael Jordan autograph, a LeBron James Upper Deck Exquisite autograph number to 35, and they found a 2015 Kobe Bryant Threads patch auto with a triple color patch number to 10, along with some other nice cards as well. We got at least $7,000 worth of cards that they found in this box, just counting those major cards. They paid $300 for this. What a home run. This is not, though, the only story we've heard like this recently. This reminds me back to August when I was at Fanatics Fest. And at Fanatics Fest, I met a collector named Robert. Robert had recently, I don't know if it was an estate sale or a garage sale, but he bought a trunk. I think he said he saw it on maybe Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Someone was cleaning out a bunch of old stuff, and they had a trunk for sale full of old magazines and newspapers. And Robert said, that sounds interesting. He went and he paid $75 for this trunk of old magazines and newspapers from 100 years ago. He brings it home, and as he's going through it, he finds an uncut sheet of 1935 Gaudi cards, one of the only ones ever known to exist amongst the newspapers and the magazines. $75 for something that is worth tens of thousands of dollars. My question to you guys, though, and this is kind of an interesting one. Your first reaction in this situation is obviously to celebrate and be like, what an amazing treasure hunt find. But do you feel bad about this as the buyer at all? Do you actually owe something back to the seller? Or is this just absolutely fair game in the sports card world? You paid the seller what they wanted and you ended up winning the treasure hunt. Teapot, I'm going to start with you on this. What do you think about these stories?
There's a saying, and it's possession is 9/10 of the law. No, there's absolutely no obligation whatsoever to go back and say, I owe you some money, or they have any claim to say you owe me money. You have every opportunity when you're, selling an estate to look through everything that's there. And many times, this happens all the time. People get a whole bunch of stuff. They inherit a whole house of stuff, maybe a storage unit and more. They don't have time or energy to go through and figure everything out. And honestly, maybe in the grand scheme of things, the difference between $300 and $7,000 is a lot of money, but not necessarily if you're selling a $100,000 estate and you're just trying to move things and your time is worth something. If you sit and nitpick every single thing like that, you're going to spin your wheels a lot. So I would say they don't have that obligation at all. Once the transaction's done, you paid them what they were asking for it. You move on, you celebrate your win. It's like storage wars. It's like anything else. If you wanted to be really kind and there was a reason to do that, you could go back and say, hey, look, I got all this money and I'd like to share some of it with you. And that would make a really feel-good story. But there's no obligation to do that in this case. I don't think anybody should say that it's rude to keep that profit. You paid them what they asked, you move on.
Okay. Doug, do you agree, or do you have a different opinion on this?
There's a ton of variables that go into this. I would have to go through every set of possible circumstances and give you an answer on each one. If you wanted me to give you just a blanket statement, I think ethically I would feel a little bad about profiting off someone's death, and unknowingly, right? But again, like, I would look at a number of things. Who's running this estate? Did they contract a company to do this? I wouldn't feel bad in that case. It's that company's responsibility to be doing the valuation. Or is it the future beneficiaries of this estate, like somebody's kids? I would feel more bad in that situation, right? Also, did I look at the cards first? Did I look at these, see what's in there and think, yeah, I'll pay $300 for this and laugh all the way home? Or did I do it blindly? Which I think is probably less likely. Who's just going to just throw $300 at a mystery box of cards, right?
The user on Reddit said he didn't know what was in the box. He bought it without knowing. He got home. That does feel a little weird to me.
There's slabs. Like, it's not like you have to thumb through a bunch of singles.
Are they slabbed?
And 300,
Yeah.
so, at least one of the cards is slabbed. 300 bucks.
Or one-touched.
300 bucks is a lot of money, actually, to pay for a random box of cards. It's not like it was 20 bucks. Even the guy who bought the big trunk of newspapers and magazines for $75, he said he didn't know the 35 Gaudi uncut sheet was in there. That I completely believe, because it's an entire trunk of stuff, and he just probably thought it was cool. 75 bucks to get all these old magazines. That just seems like a fun thing. In this case, I don't know. You're buying a box of cards. You're willing to put $300 down on it. Yeah. Don't you want to take a little time
There are people who
to
do
know
this.
what's inside?
There are people who do this. I bought some stuff at the National 2 years ago from a guy who said he had some really cool cards, some 90s stuff that I never see. And I said, where do you get all this stuff? And he said, exclusively from estates and auctions of estates online. And many times there are no pictures. He's like, I've just figured out enough. They'll give you a sampling to decide what I want to go at it and my tolerance threshold. So if you're skilled at that, and this is your game and you've been doing it for a while, and you go, well, I'm dealing in thousands of dollars every month to take $300 a stab at something. If you could see stuff in the box, maybe it was in the bottom. But
yeah.
I will say, I don't want it to come across like if this was like a tragic situation, right? Yeah. Like father of 5 passes away and now his kids are there. I'd probably literally go back and give them all the money. Like just really feel bad if it's a hard situation. But if it's the ordinary situation, I hate to say that, like the ordinary situation where it was grandpa's time to go and you left this big estate behind.
Yeah, they probably have a will in place to get the really valuable stuff.
Like then you just bought an estate and you took a chance and it paid off. So,
and Teapot's going to come as the Tin Man. He doesn't have a heart.
Maybe I'll come as the Grim Reaper.
There's going to be no heart. That's the Grim Reaper.
But I feel that way in certain circumstances. Like, like he said, if this was someone who died of old age and they have a chance to get their estate in order and have a will in place and there's a good life insurance policy, et cetera, I feel less bad, in those situations. If this was a sudden thing that happened, then I feel a lot more guilty. I feel more ethical about.
I agree. I agree. I think these are both great points. And I'll say to this, anybody out there in the comments right now who is saying, of course, you must go back to the estate sale and tell the people that there were a lot of valuable cards in there and give them money back. Here's what I would say to you. Next time you step foot inside Cards HQ and buy a box and go home and pull a very valuable card out of that box, I would be very happy for you to come back to Cards HQ and split your profits that you made on the box with us. I would love that. That has never once happened in the history of having the card shop.
Are you going to let me look at the box before I buy it?
Right. Well, right. There you go, right? Yeah, so it's nor would I, of course, ever expect that to happen.
Parker's found some underpriced cards, too. He owes you some money.
He did. Parker found some underpriced cards in our showcase, and he does owe me some money. Yeah, what a wild story, but certainly a fun find. Have you guys ever, by the way, done the estate sale?
No.
A couple of years ago, someone was telling me about government possessed auctions where they sometimes they repo sports cards, and it's like the same deal as estate sales. You bid online, you don't know what cards are in the box or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know, kind of interesting.
I've looked into it before. I've seen those happen.
Yeah,
and I just don't have the risk tolerance for it.
Yeah,
you see those bids get really high. There's people that do this professionally, people that are very sharp about this, and they have a much bigger bankroll than I do and much bigger risk tolerance than I do, and I've never even come close to seeing one that was a possibility for me.
Yeah, $300 for a mystery box of cards. If you see some of it, it's probably a lot less of a risk than $300 for some of the hobby boxes.
It could be. Although you could also end up with a whole lot of 80s junk wax. Could probably happen sometimes as well.
I would expect. Yeah.
Well, that is certainly a great treasure hunt story. There's another way you can get a treasure other than just a garage sale or an estate sale, and that is by getting a slab pack on Arena Club, because they once again have some crazy Grail cards in their Ruby slab packs that are dropping tomorrow. On the baseball side, in celebration of the World Series, they have a 2018 Bowman Chrome Shohei Ohtani Rookie Auto BGS 9.5 and a 2021 Topps Dynasty Aaron Judge MLB Logo Patch Auto 1 of 1. They're grouping those together. So one lucky person who opens up a Ruby slab pack tomorrow may get both of those cards. On the basketball side, the Anthony Edwards Spectra Color Blast is back from last week because nobody hit that, his rookie Color Blast. But they've also added another chase on the basketball card side, 2 lower level tickets to any NBA game this entire season. And on football, they've got a 2023 Patrick Mahomes Black Pandora Downtown PSA 10 that is back again. And they're now giving 20% off your first purchase at Arena Club. So if you want a shot at any of those cards, what you need to do is download the Arena Club app, use promo code SCI20, a new promo code for 20% off. Those slab packs drop tomorrow, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Download the app, promo code SCI20 to get into those slab packs. All right, guys, let's jump to our next story today. I want to talk about the grading that is taking place right now with Victor Wembanyama's cards, because he has been on a meteoric rise in the grading world. The numbers are pretty wild. He's projected to have 500,000 graded cards by the end of this year, which would already, just coming off of his rookie year, going into his second year, already put him in the all-time top 10 most graded athletes. His 2023 Prism rookie card alone is now over 39,000 graded copies across all grades of that card. Can the market bear this? Or are we going to get into a Victor Wembanyama junk slab era? Is it possible that his cards may never be worth much, the same way that like Shaquille O'Neal rookies from 1992 aren't worth much because they were printed so heavily, there's so many of them out there. Teapot, I'm going to start with you on this.
I've said this a long time. I'd be really careful in general, especially as you move from like one era of Panini into the Topps era. Just be careful with Wemby cards that aren't what I guess would be the most iconic right now. Prism among those. I know there's a lot of copies, but it is the iconic set from the Panini era. I do think the Bowman U cards actually have some staying power for him. And then I do think these Mercury cards, even the base cards personally, will have some staying power long term. We'll see about those. But as we see more and more cards released, there's something called negative cross price elasticity in economics, meaning basically the more supply and options you have, the more somebody might see something else as a suitable substitute that's at a discounted price for the other thing that existed prior to it. This is like a competitive market landscape thing, right? So that's going to reduce the demand for those iconic cards, even these graded ones, because we're only in the first year. So now he's got cooler non-rookie cards coming out, and every single person who wants to collect Wemby or invest in Wemby or whatever is looking and going, well, do I want the low serial numbered second, third, 12th year card or the non-serial numbered PSA 10 rookie card? Which one do I hold? Which one is better? I'm going to give you some stats, though. Michael Jordan, this is unique cards in existence, not total print runs, unique cards. Michael Jordan has 15,000 total cards in existence. Kobe Bryant has 17,000. LeBron has 21,000. Luka Doncic already has 11,000 in existence, 1,200 rookie cards, unique. Zion had 2,000 rookie cards total. Wemby has 2,600 unique rookie cards. I made the comparison between Otani and Wemby in terms of the uniqueness that they bring to their sports. Otani has 20,000 unique cards already in existence. Griffey has 29,000. At this pace, Wemby's going to outpace both of them, but then we don't even factor in the total print runs of all of those unique cards. It is many, many magnitudes over. So I think it's going to be really important long-term to see how the hobby views Victor Wembanyama, his most iconic cards, and to sort of stay in that track if you want to hold, if you're playing the value game. Collect whatever you want, but have a realistic outlook on it, because there's already the gamble that he doesn't become the player that people think he has the potential to do. Now you've got literally probably billions of cards in existence circulating, at some point in the future. It's a big gamble. It's tough.
Yeah, interesting. All right, those stats, make me a little nervous. By the way, I think you should come to Halloween as an economics professor.
Okay.
Apparently, you should put on your economics professor jacket.
Maybe as Wemby on stilts, just walking through.
Doug, do these stats you just heard from T-Bot, do these scare you? Do they give you pause when it comes to buying Wemby's cards right now?
Yeah, 100%. If we're talking about that projection of him possibly having 500,000 graded cards by the time this year is over, that is a mind-blowing number, even by ultra-modern standards. That's going to surpass probably Luka, Zion, the people that we have always thought of as being the most overprinted or overgraded athletes of this current ultra-modern era. He could already pass them in 1 year, and that is just unbelievable to think about. There's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, people are looking at this as an opportunity to invest now in this generational type of player that has a ceiling of being one of the best to ever do it. Now, that's the ceiling. That's not expected necessarily. That's not probable, I would say. But that's possibility exists, and now's the time, right? The alternative to that is these companies also see that this hype and this demand exists, and they are printing the hell out of Wembanyama. The print runs are unbelievable, licensed and unlicensed. So I think very few cards from his rookie year will hold up over time. I do think it's going to have to be serial numbered or rare parallels from important sets like Prism, maybe a few others on that side. I think on the top side, the unlicensed stuff, I don't agree that the Mercury cards, the base cards, will hold up at all. I think only the RPAs potentially, especially if they are the only RPAs he ever has, right? And then of course you've got those patches in there that are from his debut game. I think those will be important long term. So I think few from the top set, and I think a couple of the, flagship Panini products. But outside of that, there's just going to be a billion other options.
Yeah,
I think you can hold up.
I still think there's opportunities to invest in Wemby, but I agree you have to be very careful and very selective and very measured. He does have less autographs than most of the other players because he didn't have the autograph deal with Panini. So we've seen two Topps products, Topps Chrome and the Topps Mercury, right? And then there's been some Topps Now cards and everything, but those have been much more limited that he has autographs on. So maybe long term there's opportunity around autographs, but of course you're getting autographs on unlicensed cards. The patch autos of Mercury, I actually really like those long term. Yes, once again, they're unlicensed cards.
But if that's the only option.
But when you think back to the Wemby era, if you want a patch autograph of Wemby, there's only one set, at least so far, and I think it will be the only one, that's delivering patch autos of Wemby. It's also the only set that's delivering any type of game use patch of Wemby. So I think certain things like that, and I think Prism numbered stuff, you're probably going to be okay on. But beyond that, it does get very concerning with those numbers. Very concerning.
Michael Jordan's had a hair under 1.6 million total cards graded with PSA. Wemby's had almost 400,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty wild stat for somebody who's literally just entering his second NBA season right now.
Crazy.
Like, that's a little crazy. All right, also crazy is what Ohtani's home run ball sold for just a couple of nights ago. That auction closed on Golden. This is his 50th home run ball from his 50-50 season. It closed on Golden for $4.39 million. There were 40 total bids, 13 of which came during extended bidding. So there was some back and forth during extended bidding. That puts it as by far the most expensive home run ball ever. Also the most expensive ball of any type ever. But second place was McGwire's 70th home run ball, which sold for just over $3 million. This beat that by well over $1 million. What is interesting to me is Ronald Acuna Jr., who went 40-70 last season, which was also a historic, record-breaking, big moment that everybody was talking about at the time. The home run ball from Acuna's 40th home run sold for right around $20,000 compared to $4.39 million. Look, I'm not going to argue that Ohtani is the better player, the more well-known player, has the international appeal, is in LA. All those things are true. Ohtani's ball plus 50-50, more impressive than 40-70, sure. All those things are true. I have no problem with Ohtani's ball outselling Acuna's ball by quite a bit. Is it worth almost 300 times more, which is what it sold for? Doug, what is your take on Ohtani's ball and that sale price?
I'm actually really surprised by this number. I expected it to be closer to the McGwire number. And honestly, I thought it might be lower than that. When I think of the accomplishments, and I'm not a baseball guy, so feel free to tell me how wrong I am. It won't hurt my feelings at all. I thought, there's the Acuna ball, and there's the 70th McGwire ball. I thought, Ohtani would come in just behind the 70th. In terms of achievements, that's how I processed that in my head. I thought it'd be a little less impressive than the 70th. I don't care about the steroid area. Everybody knows that. If you've listened to the show before, I wish they would bring it back. I want more steroids. But I think that is probably where that, in my head, where that was going to fall, a little bit short of that. And I don't quite get it. But I think it's great. I love seeing record-setting sales in our industry. Whether it's memorabilia or cards, it just feels good to see the collectible market doing well. I do want to say that Paul Lesko on Twitter, he's our kind of de facto hobby lawyer, right? He did some quick math talking about lawyer fees, taxes and things like that, and broke down how much these guys are actually getting from that. And I thought that was kind of interesting to share. If it's still in litigation, but if it is determined there's only one sole winner
there's
of this ball.
two people suing for it, so 3 people are trying to claim it.
Right, so if one person gets awarded this ball out of $4.4 million, it's an estimated they're only going to net about 1.8 out of that. Only 1.8 out of that. If it gets split 2 ways, 900,000 each. 3 ways, 600,000 each.
After attorney fees and
33%, attorney fee,
contingency
taxes,
fee, taxes.
Now that's still
premium,
a ton of money. That's not something I would be disappointed with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they did anything to earn that money. They were just at a baseball game at the exact right place and the right time. But that's interesting to think that guy might only get 600,000 out of 4.4 million. And there is some precedence to that. We've had a Barry Bonds ball that had split ownership. So
yeah, interesting. I don't know. Teapot, did this surprise you, or did you expect it to become the number 1 selling baseball of all time?
Like, on its face, it completely shocked me, but it also doesn't shock me at all. Ohtani frenzy is real. People are crazy about the guy. People call him our era's, Babe Ruth, or the only other Babe Ruth, or better than Babe Ruth. People say all kinds of things about him, right? So to have that happen doesn't necessarily surprise me. I will say, strictly speaking, in terms of dollars paid, yes, this is the most expensive ball of all time, but I went and did some math. $3 million in 1998 is worth almost $5.8 million today with inflation. So technically the McGwire was more expensive of a ball relative to what currency was worth at that time than what that ball sold for now. But I don't know much about the memorabilia market overall. I don't buy a lot of memorabilia or signed balls. I can't speak with a ton of expertise or intelligence about this. What I do know is the most expensive Shohei Ohtani card that sold this year was his Bowman Chrome Orange Auto, and that sold for $200,000. That's his most expensive card this year. You can get a lot of Ohtani's best cards. You could build a heck of an Ohtani portfolio right now, and I would actually feel way more confident about that portfolio appreciating over time if you had a bunch of that caliber of cards, looking at like the video did with Nat Turner and seeing those 90s cards and how they've appreciated and being worth, $30 million or whatever he estimated. I would, if somebody's collectibles and they like to collect high-end grails and they've got millions and millions and millions of dollars, cool. That's a heck of a piece. It's one of a kind. It's truly one of a kind. I still think Ohtani's got a lot left in the tank, a lot of really iconic moments left in his career. If he even breaks this record, then what happens to the value of that ball? Whereas if he breaks this record, the cards only continue to go up.
That's actually a good point.
That's
a good point,
I would have
Teapot.
been trying to collect every Shohei Ohtani Bowman Chrome rookie auto out in the universe.
Bring back the steroids,
And
go for a 60
I
season.
thought this would go for 2 to 2.5. That's what I thought. And I still think that's actually really high, personally.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'm with you. It was, hey, you know what though? Great outcome overall for the hobby to get the headlines. It was the lead story on ESPN, or not the lead, but it was one of the top stories on ESPN today about, the ball and all that stuff. So there you go. Grab the headlines, grab the attention, but I think all of your points on that are very valid. All right, we got one more story to talk about today, guys. A major FBI bust. We're gonna talk about this. First, I want to let everybody know this Saturday at Cards HQ, PSA grading will be here in store for on-site submissions. If you're anywhere in the Southeast and you've got cards that you want to submit to PSA, but you really want to do it in person, well, this Saturday is your chance. Come to Cards HQ, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Hope to see you there. Okay, let's talk about this story from the FBI. I saw the FBI put out a tweet recently that said Operation Bullpen seizes $100 million in forged sports memorabilia. And I was like, oh my God, this is a massive story. What's going on? Well, I click inside into the story. This actually happened back in 1999. For whatever reason, the FBI has decided to now go on a little bit of a marketing campaign, and they are promoting a bust that happened 25 years ago. I guess it's maybe the 25th anniversary of this bust. So it's headlines again today, even though it's a story from 25 years ago. But I didn't know a lot about this story. And I was kind of interested reading it. In late 1999, the FBI and the IRS took down, they executed 60 search warrants. They had 400 special agents involved specifically in cracking down fake and forged sports memorabilia and autographs. They seized over $500,000 in cash. They seized approximately $10 million in forged memorabilia, including over 10,000 forged baseballs. They found a bunch of baseballs that included fake signatures from Mother Teresa. That's Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Roberto Clemente, Sammy Sosa. So they also found fake cut autographs of George Washington, James Dean, Walt Disney, Elvis Presley. In total, they believe that the value, that the people that they busted were responsible for the creation and sale of up to $100 million in forged memorabilia across the U.S. They called this Operation Bullpen. I guess it was a big deal back in 1999. Maybe some people watching remember when all of this happened back in 1999. I wasn't at that moment in the industry, so I don't. But the FBI's out retelling the story today. So I'm curious for you guys, had you heard this story before? Were you aware of this? And can you believe that there was $100 million worth of fakes out there? Does this still go on today? What do you think, Teapot?
I'd like to compare Mother Teresa's auto to Cam Reddish and see who does it better. They should have known when it said "get wrecked" that wasn't really her card.
That would have been a one-on-one.
This sounds like a little PR campaign to restore our faith and confidence in the three-letter agencies or something. This is bizarre to like resurface, but wouldn't that technically be $0 in forged sports memorabilia, not $100 million? Like it's not worth anything if it's forged. So I don't have a lot to say about this. What this tells me is nothing we didn't know already. There's tons of fraud and scammery and scummery that happens everywhere in the world. Anywhere where big money's involved, anywhere where thieves and crooks can come in and steal things, they're going to do it. We talk about it all the time on here. Things happening every week, it seems like. Big amounts of money being stolen, frauds. You just got to be careful. That's life. Like literally, that's life. Don't treat the hobby any differently. Be smart, be vigilant. But that's frustrating. If you do get hosed, I'd feel a lot more concerned with this type of stuff than I would with the $300 into $7,000 from an estate sale in terms of what's really plaguing the hobby in the world. But I don't honestly have a lot else to say about it other than just be careful.
$100 million, Doug. What did you make of this?
It's pretty impressive. That's quite the ring you've got going on there across, all across the state. I think they had agents set up in Asia to help participate in this. So this might have even been a worldwide ring of counterfeit memorabilia. Pretty impressive. But I think it also speaks to the fact that authentication has come a long way since then. We've become a lot more sophisticated in how we authenticate items. You couldn't pull this off today.
Right.
I think.
They all got duped.
Yeah. Not to this extent. I'm sure some things get past PSA and JSA and the different authenticators.
But you couldn't have this gigantic ring of people
extent.
manufacturing this and producing this. This is like something my great-grandmother would have bought off QVC late night without any knowledge whatsoever. Because people didn't, to an extent, didn't care as much about authentication. We weren't educated on that.
Doug, I got you a 3-for-1 Babe Ruth signed baseball.
100%, and then a silver coin to go with it. But yeah, so now as a hobby, we're much more educated on authentication. We're much more, diligent about looking into this stuff, and that technology's come a long way. So the scammers scam, the other companies evolve to countermeasure that. Yeah. Then the scammers come up with new scams, and we go through countermeasures, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We've got this whole new, list of scams, whether it's CT scanners or whatever you can name. We'll come up with countermeasures, and then it's up to them to take the next step in scammery. So we'll see how this goes.
I get an email probably once a week. I hate when I get this email, but I consistently get this email once a week. Somebody finds my email address and they send me an email, and it's always a picture of either a card or a baseball that's been autographed, typically Babe Ruth, Mantle, Willie Mays, Lou Gehrig, and I found this sometimes at a card show. I bought this off a dealer at a card show, Mickey Mantle, autograph on a 54 Topps card. I bought this off a dealer at a card show for $80. How much do you think it's worth? never graded, never authenticated. I see Jordan autos all the time, people. And I have a canned response at this point, which is like, hey, congratulations. However, please be aware that there's a very high likelihood that is faked. I recommend submitting it to PSA or submitting it to JSA or submitting it to Beckett. For authentication, don't be surprised when it comes back not real. Don't get your hopes up. There's a lot of forgeries. And if it was real, chances are it would have already been authenticated. There's a reason why it's not authenticated.
This just happened to me. Somewhere we went as a team. I'm not going to say where in case the guy's watching. I told him about our channel. I don't want to put him on blast, but he told me as we walked in the door that he had 5 Mickey Mantle signed baseballs at home. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
He's like, what do I do with them? My first thing was like, well, you want to get them authenticated if you don't have any paperwork.
And PSA's new graded baseball holder.
He's like, I've got no paperwork. I was like, well, that's going to be step one. Otherwise, those are fast and
well, at least we have that today. Back in 1999, that was not nearly as prevalent as it is today. So at least we have the authentication today that's a lot more accessible, including PSA coming here this weekend at Cards HQ. So, it's at least we have that. And the hobby has gotten better. Still a lot of bad stuff out there for sure, but the hobby has gotten better at catching a lot of this and weeding some of it out.
The comments sometimes like to say this would be your fault.
Yes.
Somehow.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right. Appreciate the discussion today, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. And don't forget about those slab pack drops tomorrow on Arena Club. Download the Arena Club app. Promo code SCI20 for 20% off your first purchase. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you soon in our next episode. Take care.